And so I have these 5 principles of practice, which I will share with you because I still get reactions from people. They're like 30 years old now. I still use them. And if I ever do a job and I don't articulate these 5 and get them negotiated with someone, I'm always sorry. It only happens rarely, but it has. And they are, I say to people, look, there are a lot of people who do what I can do. We're all different. We all work different ways. Let me tell you a bit about how I work and we can figure out whether it would be a good fit. And the things about the way I work, why they're here, is because if I'm going to work with you, I really want you to be successful because your success is my success. And I've come to believe that there are 5 conditions that help us ensure success. And if we can either have these before we begin or pursue these as part of what we're doing, we increase the chances of success. So let me tell you what they are. And then let me give you some names of other people that would do the same job for you, but in a different way. They may not have a set of conditions that they need. So let me run them by you. And the first one is participation in any planning, collaborative planning or training has to be voluntary. Everyone in the room has to have chosen to be there. Second one, whatever we do has to be customized for this setting. I don't have anything on a shelf. There's nothing in a box. I'm not going to do the same thing with you that I've done with anybody else because you're not the same as anybody else. What we do should be connected to where you've just been or what you last did, either in training or organizational development or strategic planning. Like, let's not forget where you were last because the people in the room won't. They'll wonder what happened with the feedback they gave you, the last plan, how this builds on the last training. So I want to connect what we're doing with where you've been, and I want it to connect with where you're going so that we can put this in a context for people and it can seem meaningful. The third one is it should be built for longevity. We should only do things that make sense to do because they can survive without me when I'm gone. So have we built it with enough integrity that it can grow legs and begin to walk around? Whether that's enough people having skills or there's a plan with a stewardship plan for who's going to manage the strategic plan going forward and how's that going to happen. So I'm going to be asking the hard questions about, so what happens when leadership changes, when I'm gone, well, what's the plan around that? And we're going to design for it. The fourth one is it should be data informed. Because too often people, think they know there's a problem when they haven't really checked that out. Or they base their plans on the 3 people they spoke to, like a leader who consulted a few people and said, I think what we need to do is X. It's like, let's vet that. Or they're trying to build something that someone else has already built. And it's like, well, have you looked at what others have done? And how can we expedite and economize this thing by looking at best practices that are already out there, rather than thinking you're rebuilding the wheel? So sometimes my role is to introduce or recognize the need for data, need for information, the need for alternatives, and to encourage where that falls in the process. And the last one, I used to say, because it was always in schools when I started this, that whatever we do needs to be in the best interest of kids. This is the ethics trump card. But then as I moved out of school settings, I would start to say it needs to be in the best interest of the community that this group exists to serve. So not the people in the conversation, but the people for whom the conversation is being had. And that gives me the chance to challenge who's not at the table, who isn't sufficiently voiced, who doesn't have the necessary resources to engage, whether or not the technologies we're using sort of create a bias about who we'll hear from and won't. When I say to people, if everyone participates voluntarily, if it's customized, if it's built for longevity, if it's informed with the right information, and we do it with the right spirit of who it's meant to serve so that we do no harm, I can guarantee you I'm going to get in here like neck deep with you and we're going to make this a success. But I'm going to ask you to try and help create these conditions. And so just those little terms of engagement for me become leverage points for negotiating the conditions I feel like are necessary to live out the ethics that we were just talking about.